Oh, hey, I have no way to start this video. This review is way overdue, so instead of scraping it completely, I decided to do it anyways. We're reviewing this game, and I'm currently working on the new one, so enjoy! Oh hey you guys, welcome to a new episode of My 2 Yen, where we discuss any media and give it my 2 yen's worth. Today's game was supposed to be released a while back, like way back. I could have given multiple reasons as to why this got delayed, but regardless, it would not change the outcome. So, without further ado, let's get this review done so that I can talk about some other game. Herc's Adventure is an action-adventure game released on both the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation 1 in July 31st, 1997, and later released on the PlayStation 3 as a remastered version in 2014. The game plays with an overhead perspective, which the developers cited as a spiritual successor to one of their earlier games, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. But in my opinion, most of my viewers would see this game taking a lot of inspiration from A Link to the Past. Oh yeah, as for the developers of this game, the game was developed by Lucasfilm Games, or as it's now known as, Lucasarts. Yeah, those guys. The same company that was owned by the bright mind that brought you Star Wars and Indiana Jones. LucasArts were the pioneers of the adventure genre of gaming with all of these amazing examples. Herc's Adventure is loosely based on Hercules from the Greek mythology, but with LucasArts' charm infused with it. If you played or heard about their games, they're known for their wacky humor and sense of imagination, just like their big guy. So, let's bring out my 2 yens and see if this game still holds on. The story is set in ancient Greece, where we see the goddess of vegetation, Persephone, using her powers to grow the plants for the start of spring. Suddenly, she is then kidnapped by the god of the underworld, Hades, and halts her powers from completing, resulting in famine and destruction in Greece. We are then introduced to our 3 heroes: Hercules, battling a lion as he always done in every depiction I've heard of him, and notice that the plant life is suddenly decaying. And then we see... Jason? Wait. Is there really a Greek hero named Jason? Huh. So there is a hero. Points for you, LucasArts. So Jason is looking after his cows. Are we really gonna ignore the fact that he's called Jason and not a cool Greek name like Jason Isis or Jasonin or something? Anyways, he was looking after his cows and they were suddenly kidnapped, which will never be mentioned again, so what is the point of showing them? We then see Atlanta. See? There you go! Going by actual mythologies. We also see Zeus being the usual womanizer and notice Atlanta and tried to seduce her with flowers only for them to wither away. This resulted in Zeus bolting back to Mount Olympus to see what was happening, only to find out that Hades has destroyed the entire heroes, leaving the 3 mentioned at Zeus's side. Now, it's the hero's job to stop Hades and save Persephone. Like I said, it's loosely based on the Greek pantheons, but with a wacky Saturday morning cartoon vibe. This is where LucasArts really shines. After starting the game, you meet up with Zeus and he tells you to go seek help from the Greek gods, Hera, Athena, Poseidon, and Dionysus. Zeus doesn't really help you in this game, and in fact, none of the gods really do. You basically do their chores since none of them are really much help. Now, what does each god ask of you? Well, pretty much all the same. Go to a place and go fetch me something from that place, whether it is a loot from a boss or is just laying there right there for you to grab it. Once you finish a task, they will give you a key that unlocks a door that corresponds to the first letter of their name. You can consider them as a checkpoint or a roadblock until you reach Hades. Every god will ask you for something. Hera, for example, asks you to bring back a cow from Sparta, which will literally have you grab a cow and walk all the way back to her. Even Hades will ask you to go get a MacGuffin for him in order to enter the underworld. Now, the reason for that is to imply that you are the hero of this journey, not the gods, and that all of them are practically useless. I don't know if the developers were lazy to give out new tasks or this was intentional, but it portrays them as chore givers to the point that they don't want to lift a finger, which I believe this is accurate to a degree. Certain incarnations of the Greek gods depict them as needy or slothy, so I like that they went with this approach. The overall experience would be more engaging if there was more replayability, but your only existence in this game is to save Persephone, which makes you feel like a pawn in their sick game. Wait, is that why we were chess pieces in the beginning of the game? For the gameplay, the game is portrayed in an overhead perspective, which gives a feeling of an open, expansive world. This also helps out in predicting the layouts and locations of the incoming enemies, which gives you time to adjust for combat. The action-adventure element is done by walking around and beating everything that moves or even has a pulse. You choose at the start of the game who you want to play as. They all do the same normal functions such as jumping, dashing, carrying heavy objects, using items, light attacks, and a charged heavy attack. But each character plays out a little differently. Herc plays out as the heavy hitter and is the best one to carry heavy objects as he is able to lift up the houses early on in the game. Herc uses his club for his attacks, and if you charge his attack, he will throw his club in a single direction where you are pointing Herc and it will deal more damage. And the club returns back to you like a boomerang. It seems like a nice attack, but it is a double-edged sword, or club, since Herc can't move while charging and also while throwing the club, and most enemies move around quickly for you to aim and hit all of them. So I just revert to using the light attack most of the time. Atlanta is faster than Herc and focuses more on ranged attacks with her bow and arrow. Her charged attack sends out a rain of arrows from above based on where you aim. Again, it restricts your movement and is very situational. Jason basically plays as a mix between Herc and Atlanta as he moves faster and has a long-range charge attack like Atlanta where he flings a rock to the enemies and has a close-range attack like Herc with the knife. I was hesitant on who to pick to play as, but ultimately I chose to play as Herc because, you know, the game is called Herc's Adventure and not Jason! In terms of combat, like I said, you use your light attacks and heavy attacks to hit your enemies. You can also throw whatever you can carry at them and deal massive damage.
Now that's a lot of damage!
But you can't exploit that as that will drain your stamina. Yes, you have stamina that you use to either dash or let you carry heavy objects for long periods of time. This is where Herc outshines the other characters. He can carry the most and longest, which makes the throwing items a necessity in this game, as certain roadblocks in the game requires you to carry heavier objects to proceed. When you're not bashing the enemy's skulls open, you walk around the open-ended, as the console limits you to explore World of Greece. The map is huge, really huge, to the point that it will take you a while to reach your destination. Let's stick a pin on that, shall we? When walking around, you might encounter the following items laying around. A drachma, which is the main currency of the game and lets you purchase many items as well. There's also a heart piece that increases your max HP and dumbbells for your stamina. Oh, yeah, in this game, there is a lot of items that you can find. Like a whole lot of items. I'll just go through them as quickly as possible. The items. Gyros, your main method of healing. Gyros are Greek and this game is set in Greece, so this is perfect. Boar trap, you can set them on the ground to inflict damage to whoever lands on them. Frogs, hops around randomly and causes minor damage to enemies. How does that work? Hawk, summon a hawk that lets you attack enemies from a distance and really helps you out in dishing out damage to hard to reach enemies. Inflatable cows, creates distractions and is completely useless in my opinion. Keys, used to open certain doors. These do not open litter doors, but it lets you reach useful places. Magic potions, lets you transform into a pig. Trust me, I don't make this stuff up. It helps you enter smaller areas that you usually can't access. You cannot, however, jump, attack, or dash in pig form. Weapons, garbage, throws filth at enemies, most common to find, too bad is the weakest one. Bombs, you can throw that off to kill multiple enemies with its blast radius. Very useful for killing the fishes. Thunderbolt, a better bomb. Evil Taboo shrinks enemies so you can squash them. Spears, the game's equivalent of arrows, fires in a straight line. Flaming spears, flame arrows, and the only item that kills the Hydra. Trident, fancy arrow, deals more damage than a normal spear. Snowball, same as the garbage, but freezes enemies on contact. Ray gun. What? Ray gun? How is a ray gun available in ancient Greece? Hits everyone in a straight line. Pepper breath.
Pepper breath!
Flame breath, attack that continually attacks the enemy as you hold down the button. Frost breath does no damage but freezes the enemies like the snowball. Rock spit, you spit rocks. Medusa's head, the best weapon in the game until you give it away for a letter key, turns enemies to stone and there and then insta-killed. Pandora's box, screen nuke, hits multiple enemies for a brief period of time. Fuck. That's a lot. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to kill off your enemies, plus the game is engaging so it gets a good coin. Okay, I did mention the items and the secondary weapons briefly, but it segues to my other topic, which is the resource management system. Even though there is a lot of items to choose from, they are not infinite. You have to be smart about using which items and when, because once you're out of said item, you are screwed. You have to be lucky if there is a vendor that sells that item for you close by, and trust me, he is never close by and you are forced to use whatever you have in your arsenal to survive. I like this approach as it feels more like a survival game than just an action-adventure game, and I like that they thought of this as a feature. Drachmas is your main currency in the game, as I stated before, but it is also your only method of saving your game. Yes, this game is doing the Resident Evil saving system, but with gold instead of ink. What makes it more challenging is that there aren't many saving zones in the game and you need to travel to great lengths just to save. And each save zone requires different amounts of gold. This makes the gold the most important item to gather, as they are very rare to find and only show up if you do certain tasks or laying there in hard to reach places for you to use your wit to reach them. Until you use the exploit. There is an exploit in the town of Ellis early on in the game where you can get a gold coin every time you enter and leave the town. Doing this means you don't have to worry about the gold and saving, or even purchasing anything, which kinda breaks the game. But hey, if you don't want to do it, that's completely up to you. You're an idiot for not doing so, but hey, that's completely up to you. Another thing that I love about this game is that when you die, you don't get a game over at first. You are instead sent to the underworld and you need to get out of it to get a second chance. Each time you die, you are sent further back in the underworld and it gets more difficult to get out. You can only die 5 times and then it's finally a game over. This is just amazing, as you need to redeem yourself to overcome your mistakes, and when you do, you fully recover and send back to the place where you last died to undo your mistakes. Man, this is a brilliant concept.
It's brilliant, I tell you.
The game looks spectacular with its 32-bit aesthetic. You can see in certain parts that the world is in decay and they look sugoi desu. Also, the characters all look expressive and full of life, even though everything is dying right in front of them. Another good added feature is that every time you get hit, it shows the character's face on the top corner, which is a nice touch. When you die and get sent to the underworld, your character's skin tone even changes. That's amazing. The scenes all fit the places that they are portraying. I never felt like a certain location went over the theme. Even the location where you fight Medusa, which is called the Edge of the World, which is literally the edge of the game's world, where if you fall off, you instantly die.
It's brilliant, I tell you.
The enemies that you face in this game are also fun to deal with, as well as a variety of monsters that you face in the Greek mythology. You also have humans that are represented in different countries and cultures throughout history, like Spartan soldiers, Athens, barbarians. Yeah, you noticed it, did you? They look the same and act the same too, but don't worry, the other monsters are way more interesting. You have monsters and even bosses that were pulled from the Greek mythology, like the Caledonian boar, as well as Talos and Medusa and aliens. What? Oh, yeah. There's aliens in this game, and for some reason they're only available at the pyramids of Giza in Egypt. You want to let us in on something there, Lucasarts? In my opinion, the bosses have the best designs, and each boss has their own unique personality. The boar has a tattoo of a heart being stabbed by an arrow with the word Mom. Talos, the bronze giant, bends over to show his ass for you to exploit it. You even have great designs like the Hydra and the Cerberus. Ooh, look at the little chihuahua face, ain't it fucking ugly? It's so cute! You see, the little things like this is what really makes my day. This game is getting too many good coins. I can't let this happen. Nothing is gonna be perfect like you, Louie. Okay, so you have a lot of variety, and it's always fun to see new monsters that you can encounter. Except for these old hag-ass bitches and the fucking Cyclops. Of course I'll find something that'll piss me off eventually. Even though the gameplay is fun, the hit detection and collision is botchy. Here, we see the hag is not even close to me and it still latches onto me and bites me. I try to hit her, and at certain times it misses, and she takes a lot of time to kill. The Cyclops is even more frustrating. The Cyclops takes an eternity to kill, and he even does this. Whoa, wait there a minute. You're telling me that this grab landed? I'm not even close to him! Okay, let's bring out the measurements to calculate the distance of this attack and how far I have to be. By guessing the size of Hercules from the mythologies and using this footage of him fighting the Nemean lion, who is 13 feet tall or approximately 3 meters, we can say that he's almost 6.5 feet or approximately 1.98 meters. Now, for the size of a normal Cyclops, we'll be using the Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual for reference. We can find that he is a huge creature, and going by the size scale, we can see that he is 16 feet tall, which is 4.87 meters. Going by this equation, we need to get the remaining values. For time, we can check how long that grab occurred and when it stopped, which is 1.06 seconds. For speed, there is no concrete way to calculate that, so we took the calculations of the speed from a gorilla, which has a speed of 35 miles per hour, which is 15.64 meters per second. But that is for a 6-foot tall gorilla, which is 1.82 meters. Seeing that we have a 16-foot Cyclops, so we multiply that by 2.38, which will give us the speed of the Cyclops grab of 37.24 meters per second. Hope you're proud of me, MatPat. Now, we have everything that we need. This will give us the final result of 39.474 meters. And seeing the size of this character that we mentioned before, we can finally conclude that I call bullshit! You are correct! Congratulations! You will proceed to the next round. Stay tuned after a word from our sponsors. The game lets you roam around the world as you gather the keys to progress. What's great is that the game is massive. You can walk around for minutes just to reach your destination, and the game makes the map feel like one big maze. What's not great about it is that as much as you can encounter different sceneries in the game, the map is not thorough enough and not as informative enough as you think. A good example is when trying to get back to Athens after the long journey from Poseidon's quest. You can think that, yeah, maybe I can fast travel back to Athens and continue my journey. Nope. You have to walk all the way back to Athens. It's fine. fine, I can use my trusty map to find the way. Nope. The map is just used as visual assistance and it doesn't even do a good job at it. When trying to access the map to know where you are, the pointer doesn't follow where the character is positioned, it just points to a fixed spot in the general vicinity of where you're supposed to be at and leaves all the heavy lifting to you, the player. When going from one section of the map to another, the pointer is sometimes placed at locations so obscure that you have to guess where you should head next. But the maps had these landmarks that let you know where you are. Yes, that is true, random voice of reason that lives in my head, but there are so few and far between. In order to reach said landmarks, you have to navigate the pathways and roads which the game made sure that they are labyrinth-like, which takes a while to reach sometimes. Even after you reach a landmark, the map is not even updated. You have to reach a certain invisible point that you have no clue where it is for it to update the damn thing. Oh, and one other thing is backtracking. I know that it's used to increase the playtime, but it feels more like padding and it just goes on and on sometimes. Like for when you want to defeat the Hydra. I'll just tell you what needs to be done to finish the quest. Talk to Dionysus to start the quest. Get a baby. Yes, I know, you have questions about that too. So do I. Should I be concerned, Lucasarts? Return the baby to the Amazon, trade the man for a password, take the password to Crete, get the fire weapon, return back to Athens, go back to the first forest to kill the Hydra, then return to Dionysus for his fucking key. And you have to do all of this without dying and accidentally spending the items along the way, cause you will have to traverse your way back to where you found said item. Loading a save file would be a solution, but the save locations are already few and scattered far and probably not on your path, and which would add a new layer of backtracking, not to mention remembering where everything is because of this damn map not helping anybody. Just use a cheat that lets you have infinite items so you just skip this goddamn quest. After acquiring the Golden Fleece, we set forth to the underworld, make our way to the depths, defeating Hades' minions and defeating the three-headed Cerberus. We embark onto the center of the underworld where we face off against Hades. After laying some serious blows to the evil Lord of Darkness, his arm begins to fall off and we can see circuits and wires begins to show on him. What? Did I just read that right? Apparently, Hades turned out to be an animatronic puppet that was being controlled all along by the true perpetrators, aliens. Sure, why not? It's the end of the game. Let's just get this over with. After defeating the aliens, we rescued Persephone and saved Greece. Roll the credits. What's this? Oh! Instead of actually rolling the credits, you get to roam around the studio and talk with the developers of this game as you've just finished making a movie, which is what we played. Very clever there, LucasArts. Very clever. So what do you do with the credits? Well, nothing. You really walk around and talk with the developers and that's it. I mean, you can find a key that opens one section of the studio that lets you fight one more alien in the Cyclops. Oh, hell no! All you can do after this is just close the game. Yeah, old games didn't have the concept of New Game Plus, and just finishing the game means you finished the game. Now, with a great wacky plot, great engaging gameplay and mechanics, spectacular visuals and atmosphere, bullshit hit detection, and a very misleading map, if all of LucasArts' games were as great as this one, then we should be in good hands. And with the announcement of the new Sam and Max game, I'm more inclined to try out their previous games from their studio. Now, for my opinion of this game, I give it the final rating of... Yoy! It is a good game. Actually, it is a great game. True, it'll not be as perfect as you,
Oh yeah.
but it's still a very enjoyable game nonetheless. Give it a try whenever you can, but don't pick Jason cause he's trash!
Jason!